Chosen one, God is not silent tonight. He is watching you in this exact moment, the way a father watches his child stand at the edge of a decision that could change everything. Not with anger, not with disappointment, but with a kind of love so deep it almost hurts. Because you are closer than you think, and the most dangerous thing about this moment is not failure, it is walking away too soon. You have been carrying something inside you for a long time now, something you could never fully explain to anyone. A quiet knowing that your life was meant to be more than this, more than surviving, more than repeating the same cycles, more than feeling stuck in a version of yourself that does not match what you feel deep in your soul. And yet, somewhere along the way, that knowing started to fade, not all at once, slowly. So slowly you didn't even notice the exact moment it happened. The fire became smaller. The belief became softer, and the voice inside you that once said, "Keep going," started to whisper, "Maybe this is enough." But listen to me carefully. That voice is not truth. It is the echo of exhaustion. It is what happens when a person has been strong for too long without seeing results. You are not losing your purpose. You are losing your energy, and those are not the same thing. Right now, there is something happening inside you that you have not been able to name. It shows up late at night when everything gets quiet. You find yourself staring at your screen, scrolling without direction, not because you're interested in anything you see, but because stopping would mean facing the feeling you have been avoiding. That feeling is not emptiness, it is pressure. The kind of pressure that builds right before something breaks open. But because you don't understand it, you're starting to interpret it the wrong way. You're starting to think maybe you lost it, maybe you missed your chance, maybe you're just like everyone else after all. And that thought, that quiet acceptance, is the most dangerous place you can be. Because you are not accepting reality, you are accepting a version of reality that was shaped by disappointment. And disappointment is a liar when it becomes your lens. Let me show you something that might shift everything for you. Think back to who you were as a child, not what you did, who you were. The way you felt things deeply, the way your imagination had no limits, the way you could sense things before they happened, the way you believed without needing proof. That version of you was not naive. That was you in your purest form. And the world slowly taught you to shut that down, not because it was wrong, but because it was powerful. Systems are not built for people who feel deeply, who think differently, who question everything. So little by little, that part of you was pushed into the background, not destroyed, just quieted. But here's the truth you need to hear tonight. It never left you. It is still there, and the reason you feel so out of place in your current life is because that part of you is trying to come back online. That restlessness you feel, it is not random. It has direction. Pay attention to what keeps pulling at you, what keeps coming back into your mind no matter how many times you try to ignore it. That is not coincidence. That is alignment trying to get your attention. And here's where it gets serious. There is a window open in your life right now, a specific moment where things can shift faster than they ever have before. Not because time changed, but because you did. There's a difference between waiting for something and being ready for it. And readiness does not always feel like confidence. Sometimes it feels like confusion, like pressure, like everything falling apart at once. Because what is leaving your life is making space for what is about to enter. But if you misread the signs, you'll think things are getting worse, and you'll walk away right when things are about to change. You have already survived things that should have broken you. You have held yourself together in moments where no one even knew you were falling apart. You have kept going when it would have been easier to quit quietly and disappear into a life that requires nothing from you. But you didn't. Something in you refused to give up completely. Even now, as you're listening to this, that same part is awake. That is not weakness. That is your calling refusing to die. And I need you to understand this. People who are not meant for something do not feel this kind of internal pressure. They do not lose sleep over purpose. They do not feel like they are wasting their life when they settle. That discomfort you feel, it is not a problem. It is a signal. and signals are meant to be followed, not ignored. So before you decide that nothing is changing, before you convince yourself that this is just how life is going to be, I need you to pause and ask yourself one honest question. What if I'm actually closer than I think? What if this heaviness is not the end, but the beginning? Because what I'm about to show you next will either confirm what your spirit already knows, or it will wake something up inside you that has been sleeping for years. And once it wakes up, you will not be able to go back to who you were before this moment.
Chosen one, stay with me, because what you are feeling right now is not random, and it is not happening without a reason. There's a pattern to this, something deeper than emotion, something that connects your spirit, your mind, and the exact season you are standing in. And if you understand this part, everything you have been going through will start to make sense in a way it never has before. You have been feeling like something is off, not completely broken, not completely lost, but disconnected. Like you were here physically, but internally something is out of alignment. You try to focus, but your mind drifts. You try to feel excited, but it does not last. You try to push yourself forward, but something keeps pulling you back into stillness. And the more you fight it, the heavier it feels. That's because you are trying to move forward with a version of yourself that is no longer designed for where you are going. There is something happening inside your mind that most people never become aware of. Your brain operates on different frequencies, patterns that shape how you think, how you feel, and how you respond to the world around you. When you were a child, your brain was naturally operating at a higher level of awareness. You learned faster, you imagined more, you felt everything deeply. That was not just innocence, that was a state of openness, a state where your mind and your spirit were working together without resistance. But as you grew older, life began to condition you. Expectations, pressure, repeated disappointments, all of it slowly changed how your brain functions, not in a way that you could see, but in a way that you could feel. The clarity you once had became fog, the confidence became hesitation, the connection became distance, and over time you adapted to that lower state without even realizing it. But here's where it shifts. What you are experiencing right now is not just emotional, it's neurological. Your system is trying to recalibrate. That discomfort you feel, that inability to settle into your old habits, that strange mix of exhaustion and awareness, it's your mind trying to return to a higher state. And the reason it feels so intense is because you are not meant to stay where you have been. You are being pulled forward, but your current patterns are not built to carry you there. So everything inside you is pushing for change at the same time. And that creates pressure. Real pressure, the kind that makes you question everything. But pressure is not always a sign to stop. Sometimes it's a sign that something is forming. Let me explain this in a way you can actually use. There's a simple principle that changes everything once you understand it. Your mind will always follow the strongest pattern it recognizes. Not the best one, not the one you want, the strongest one. And right now, your strongest pattern has been shaped by repetition of doubt, overthinking, waiting, and trying to create clarity when your system is not ready to hold it. And that's why nothing feels stable, because you're trying to create a new life with an old internal pattern, and that doesn't work. You cannot step into a different reality while operating from the same mental state that created the current one. Something has to shift internally first. This is why most people stay stuck. Not because they lack opportunity, but because they never change the frequency they are operating from. They keep thinking the same way, reacting the same way, doubting the same way, and then wonder why nothing changes outside. But you are not most people. You feel too deeply to stay asleep forever. And that is why this moment matters so much. Because you're at the point where you can either fall back into the old pattern or consciously shift into something new. And that shift does not require perfection, it requires awareness. Just seeing what is happening inside you without immediately judging it changes everything. Now listen carefully, because this is where you take control. Tonight, before you go to sleep, I want you to do something simple but powerful. Sit in silence for a moment. No distractions, no scrolling, no noise. And instead of trying to fix how you feel, just observe it. Notice the thoughts that come up.
Notice the tension in your body. Notice the patterns that keep repeating. Do not fight them, just see them. Because the moment you become aware of a pattern, it loses some of its control over you. And in that space, even if it is small, something new can enter. That's where the shift begins. And here's the truth you need to hold on to right now. You are not broken. You are in transition. There's a difference. Broken things need to be fixed. Transitional states need to be understood. And you are not meant to go backward. You are being moved forward into something that requires a different version of you. That's why the old ways feel empty. That's why the distractions aren't working like they used to. That's why you cannot fully settle into anything that doesn't align with what you are becoming. You're outgrowing your current state, and growth is uncomfortable when you don't know what's on the other side. But something is on the other side. Something real, something that matches the intensity of what you've been feeling. And in the next part, I'm going to show you exactly what is waiting for you and why this moment right now is the turning point you cannot afford to ignore. Stay with me, because this is where everything begins to come together.
Chosen one. This is the moment where everything either clicks or you drift back into the same cycle again. So stay with me, because what I'm about to show you is not motivation, it's recognition. Recognition of what has already been prepared for you while you were busy trying to survive. Right now, you're standing at a threshold, not metaphorically, internally. A point where your old identity cannot move forward with you, and your new identity is waiting for you to accept it. And this is where most people miss it. Not because they are not capable, but because they do not recognize the moment when it arrives. They wait for something dramatic, something obvious, something undeniable. But real shifts rarely announce themselves loudly. They show up quietly, like this: a message that feels too accurate, a moment that feels too aligned, a realization that feels like it came from somewhere deeper than thought. That is how doors appear, and if you hesitate too long, your mind will talk you out of walking through them. You have spent so much time asking for clarity, but clarity does not come before movement, it comes after, and that is why you've been stuck, waiting to feel ready before you act, waiting to feel certain before you decide. But certainty is not given in advance, it's built through action. Even a small step forward shifts something inside you. It tells your system that you are no longer frozen. And once that signal is sent, everything begins to reorganize around it. There are 3 things already aligning for you right now, whether you see them or not. The first is opportunity. Not the obvious kind you've been chasing, but the unexpected kind that appears when your awareness changes. Conversations that lead somewhere, ideas that come at the right time, situations that look small at first but open into something bigger. These are not coincidences, they are responses. Life responds when you shift internally, and the moment you stop doubting every small opening, you start seeing how many were always there. The second is connection. The right people are not found by force, they are met through alignment. When you start operating from a clearer state, you naturally move toward environments and conversations that match it. That is why some relationships have felt draining lately, not because those people are wrong, but because you're changing. And when you change, your environment has to adjust. Some things will fall away, not as loss, but as space being created for what actually supports you. And the third, the most important, is direction. Not a full map, not a perfect plan, but a clear next step. And that is all you need. You do not need to see the entire path to begin. You only need to see the next move. The problem is, you've been ignoring that step because it feels too small or too uncertain. But that small step is the door. That simple action you keep thinking about but keep delaying, that is where everything starts. And until you take it, nothing changes.
Now I want you to be honest with yourself. There is something you already know you need to do, something you have been postponing. It might be a decision, a conversation, a shift in your routine, a risk you have been avoiding.
It keeps coming back into your mind, not once, not twice, repeatedly. That is not random. That is your direction trying to get your attention. And the longer you ignore it, the heavier everything feels, because you are holding yourself in a place you have already outgrown. This is where you choose, not perfectly, just consciously. You can go back to the familiar, to the patterns that feel safe but keep you stuck. Or you can step forward into something unknown but aligned. And yes, it will feel uncomfortable. Yes, there will be doubt, but doubt does not mean you are wrong. It means you're stepping outside of what you were used to. So here's what I want you to do right after this. Not tomorrow, not later, now. Take one action that moves you forward. It doesn't have to be big, it just has to be real. Send the message, write the plan, start the task, change the habit. Do something that proves to yourself that you are no longer waiting. Because the moment you act, even in a small way, you break the cycle. And once the cycle is broken, momentum begins. And remember this, you are not starting from nothing. You are starting from experience, from awareness, from everything you have already been through. Nothing was wasted. Every delay, every confusion, every moment of doubt, it all built the version of you that is capable of stepping into what is next. You are not behind, you are positioned. The door is not somewhere far away, it's here, right in front of you, and it has been here longer than you think. The only thing left is your decision to walk through it. So if you feel this, if something inside you is telling you this is your moment, say it within yourself right now, clearly and without hesitation. I am ready. Not because everything is perfect, but because you are no longer willing to stay where you are. This is not the end of a message. This is the end of a version of you that kept waiting. And what comes next begins the moment you move.